Hey Shelby, this presentation here that I have for you is a result of our budget that was just approved by the Village Council at this past Monday's council meeting. And I want to share it with you and the highlights and the breakdown. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. All right, so first of all, our fiscal year runs from March 1, next week starts Sunday, through February 28 of 2027. Here is a graph of our general fund revenue. So this is just general fund. You can see 54% of our revenue comes from taxes, 34% comes from state revenue. That's statutory and constitutional revenue sharing. And then we have some 3% intergovernmental revenue, and we got 9% of it comes from other sources. Here is our property tax revenues, a diagram, a chart. I can see my video is actually covering up some of it, but you get the idea of our property tax revenues over the last 10 years and how they have increased. I am going to be shooting a video specifically about property tax in the Village of Shelby coming up in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. So some considerations and highlights in this presentation. In the budget that I'm going to show you, it includes the downtown project. So that's a $1.2 to $2 million project. The South Michigan Water and Street project that includes Grant Street and Bennett. Grant Street's not new water lines, but Bennett Street is. And I'm going to be shooting a video about these projects specifically as well, coming up the next week or two. DWSRF is Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. That's replacement of 60 different water lines, service lines in the village. The manhole project, we're going to get some manholes lifted up on State Street this summer, and then safe routes to school engineering. It also includes a 3% cost of living increase for base rate increases for our staff. Just so you know, there are spending guidelines that we do follow, that we have to follow, that we only spend money that comes in from the water revenue. So your water bill only goes to expenses that are related to the water fund. Same thing with the sewer. Only sewer, funds that come in on the revenue side for sewer, they expense out on only the sewer side. Street funds, we can't use major street funds on sewer project. We can't even use local street dollars on major streets, with a little caveat. And I won't get into the weeds on that one, but so there are definitely some guidelines that we have to follow, and we do follow, or if we don't follow them, we can get in hot water with the state of Michigan, but we want to follow them anyway because it's just the right thing to do. We are audited every year. And our fiscal year goes from, I already talked about that, March to February. And there is a lot of planning that goes into this process. All right, here's a summary. We have 6 different funds. We have the general fund, the major streets, local streets, sewer, water, and equipment fund. And here's a summary of the revenue and the expenditures, and then what's coming out of a fund balance for the different projects that we have this year. So I'm going to get into each one of these specifically coming up. So here's the general fund breakdown. You can see historically from 2018 on what our revenue has been, what our expenditures have been on this slide. But for this year, the approved budget, you can see the expenditure breakdown, about $510,000 as employee expenses, employee-related expenses. That includes hospitalization, healthcare, insurance, wages, all that. It comes from those are part of the employee expenditure. So $510,000 out of the $854,000 comes from that. And then utilities, about $98,000 in utility expenses. That includes street lights, our water bills for just certain buildings, because you'll see utilities in the other funds as well. So utilities cost a lot of money for us. Our gas, electricity, and waste removal, those are all part of the utilities. And then equipment usage. So what we do is we actually we charge our own selves, we charge the general fund for usage of our equipment, and then what we charge ourselves goes into the equipment fund, which is our sixth fund that we're going to go over. So it's kind of like its own little business. The equipment fund is its own little business, and this is standard practice among municipalities. This is how you're supposed to do accounting practices that you're supposed to do. And so we take that money in, about $66,000 worth, and it goes into the equipment fund. So it's taking the equipment we use day to day in the general fund area, like police cars, and then the usage, we then send that over to the equipment fund. And then we'll get into what we do with that later. And then about $24,000 in insurance costs. There's about $40,000 in and out money. That's basically the Chainsaw Carving Festival and other events. The money comes in, the money goes out. It's nothing more complicated than that. $83,000 in professional services. That includes like our copier, publishing, different public notices, engineering costs, legal costs, having our county or our village attorney to pay for the website, the email domain, auditing fees, and professional development are all part of that professional services. And then operating, maintenance of office supplies and uniforms, that's about $32,000 out of the general fund. And then everything else is $2,000. We're also taking $200,000 from the fund balance to use towards the downtown renovation project. So with major streets, that's our second fund we're going to cover. We get money from the state in the Public Act 51. And then we can use that to do different things with our major streets. Major streets are 6th Street, State Street, 1st Street, Ferry, parts of Michigan, and so forth, Pine, some of the Industrial Park Drive, some of those streets that we consider major streets, there's certain designation of qualifications for those. And so we expect $395,000 in revenue and $300,000 in expenditures this year in major streets. We don't have any major projects going on for the most part. You can see the breakdown here. Employee expenses about $112,000. Projects that we had the manhole project coming up. We're going to be chip sealing 1st Street. Those are only 2 projects that are coming out of major streets. Equipment usage is $12,000. So again, we charge ourselves for the use of equipment that we use towards the good of our major streets, and then send that over to the equipment fund. And then about $50,000 in engineering fees towards the Safe Routes to School program that we have coming up the next fiscal year. Operating and maintenance supplies is $39,000. That includes tree removal in the right-of-way, vacuuming storm drains, street sweeper costs, snow removal costs, traffic control supplies like signs and things like that, rolled salt, and sidewalk maintenance. So $10,000 worth of taking sidewalks and removing them and then replacing sidewalks is out of that $39,000. And then about $4,000 for everything else. So local streets, this is very similar to major streets. This is our third fund. These are the more local streets like Laseda and Cherry and Deming and White and Ellis and Northland Crossings. Those streets are considered local streets, and so local street money is supposed to go towards the maintenance and repair and replacement of local streets. Our employee expenses are the same as what we have for major streets, $112,000. We have $493,000 worth of projects coming up here. That's the South Michigan replacement of South Michigan Road, Bennett and Grant. So that's part of that $493,000. Seems like I'm missing one, but those are the projects. The equipment usage, again, $12,000 towards our equipment fund for equipment that we use dedicated towards local streets. Engineering is $36,500. That goes towards South Michigan. Engineering costs, operating and maintenance supplies is $39,000. Again, that's the same as what major streets. You got tree removal, vacuuming, storm drains, and so forth that takes place there, and then $4,000 for everything else. We are taking $150,000 from the fund balance of the local street fund to pay for a portion of the downtown project, because it is a street after all, and sidewalks and streets all come out of the local streets fund, or the major streets fund. All right, the fourth fund we have is the sewer fund. So you can see the trend here over the last few years, and talking about this year, we expect revenue of $577,950. That's in part based on really mainly because of the approved increase in water and sewer rates that were approved in February. As you can see, our expenditures are $528,000. So you can see why we have to, unfortunately, increase these rates to be able to beef up our fund balance to be able to do really big projects at different times, or maintenance projects, which take a big chunk all at one time. But this year, there's no big major projects in the sewer fund that we're planning on. There are $155,000 in employee expenses. So when our guys are spending time on the sewer system, we pay them for that, and it ends up being about $155,000 worth of expenses. Equipment usage is about $24,000. That goes into the equipment fund from the usage of equipment. And then operating and maintenance supplies, that includes $87,000 is Eagle fees. It's a big bill there. We have to pay Eagle. We have to pay for water testing fees. That's a huge bill as well, because we test the groundwater around by the lagoons, and then that costs money to test the water. Our SCADA system, that's our monitoring system. We've had to pay for bacteria and ferric chloride. Those total about $87,000, all those together. And then we have a loan that we took out. So the principal and interest payment is about $175,000, and that's from 2022. Some work that was done. And then our electric bill is $50,000. And then everything else is $38,000, and that's building rental. So we actually, the DPW building, we pay the general fund to rent that building from the village in a way, because the sewer fund's its own little business. Same with the water fund, its own little business. The equipment fund, their own little businesses. And so the general fund charges the sewer fund for the use of the building. And then that includes everything else is insurances, a lot of money there. It's expensive. Memberships to like Eagle and so forth, and different like Michigan Rural Water Association, and then the different conferences that we go to keep up on what's happening on with sewer side of things. All right, water fund is very similar to sewer, so I won't go as far into this. I won't break it down as much, but employee expenses are the same as sewer. We budget that. We do have $942,000 in projects. DWSRF, South Michigan Water Project, water main and sewer line or service lines project. That again, I'm going to shoot another video about, so I won't get too much into that here. Equipment usage again, engineering for South Michigan project, operating maintenance supplies, similar to what I talked about on the sewer side. We got testing fees and all that. The loan, we have two loans in interest payments in the water department. We have our electric bills, $27,000 a year, and then everything else is $24,000, and that includes building rental, insurances, memberships, conferences, and so forth. And then our last one is the equipment fund, and this is what I was talking about, where the equipment usage, then all that money goes to this fund right here, the equipment fund, and then from there, then we expense out for employee expenses, get the use of gas and oil. Building rental. Okay, so the equipment fund is renting from the general fund the building for $12,000 they give back. The equipment fund gives back to the general fund. Again, it's all these standard municipal accounting practices. And then we repair, or we are budgeting $28,000 in repairs to our equipment for the year, and then we got $9,000 for everything else, which is cost of insurance, auditing fees, and general supplies for equipment. This doesn't even cover, so we're not buying any big pieces of equipment. So as you can see, our end of year fund balance that we're planning on having in fiscal year 26-27 is, after this fiscal year is done, is almost $200,000. That doesn't cut it as far as being able to buy like a plow truck. One of our plow trucks is 25 years old, and we really need not a brand new plow truck, but a new used plow truck. And to be able to purchase one of those, it's a lot of money. So it's important that we beef up that equipment fund so we can keep our equipment in working order. Because then the $28,000 repair line items becomes $50,000 in repairs, and you just end up defeating yourself with old equipment. And then the last slide here, I can see it's covered up a little bit, the bottom right there. But this is our debt retirement. This is what we owe as far as loans goes. So we had all of them were from 2022, the DWSRF. So that was some water main and water service line replacements. We're paying those back at a very low interest rate. You can see the chart here. And then we actually refinanced. I think I said that wrong earlier. We actually refinanced some money that was a loan that was owed in the sewer fund to pay off some work that was done in years past in the sewer system. And so as you can see, our principal total with the interest is our loans are about $4 million, but now we're down to, and you can't see it real well there, but our outstanding bills is $2,810,000, and our outstanding principal is that. Our outstanding interest is $343,360. That's behind me right about here. Anyway, so that is a little tutorial on the debt retirement. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. So just in closing, this is, again, something that we take very seriously here. Our planning, we plan this out here as a staff, and council goes through this, finance committee goes through this, and this is what we come up with as far as how we prioritize our spending for the year. We do whatever the best we can to make sure we're not wasting any money, and I feel like we are very efficient in the way that your tax dollars are being used, and that's very important to us that we do that. These numbers are big, and sometimes people might think, well, man, why is it so much money? Why does it take so much tax money? Why are my water and sewer fees going up? Well, to keep us a safe village, a maintained village, maintain pipes, maintain safe pipes, safe drinking water, it costs money, and so that's why rates are what they are, and that's why but we still do whatever we can to make sure we're being as stewardly and responsible with these funds as possible. And then appealing is important too. So that's why the village has put some money towards the downtown project, because we want to have an appealing town as well for people that live here and people that don't, that come visit. And we want people to see the village of Shelby is a neat place to visit and spend their money and go to our shops and go to our stores and our restaurants and our gas stations. So anyway, I think I covered everything. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to answer them. You can put them. I don't have the chat on for this video, but you can go to the village website, and then you can send me an email, administrator@shelbyvillage.com, or you could go to the village website and just make a comment and report an issue. You can do that one, even though it might not be an issue, just a question to report an issue. And then I'll get that message. And then if you have a question that maybe a lot of people have, I'll make a video all on that question and talk about that and answer that. So yeah, thanks for listening. Sorry about rambling. Now it's my town. It's your town. It's Shelby.